You ever watch an anime that's good? Like, actually good? But something about it just feels incomplete? That's how City the Animation feels. It nails that absurd energy Keiichi Arawi is known for, but once you dig into the manga, things stop adding up. Whole arcs that add context, humor, and character relationships are either skipped, rearranged, or watered down. This video is about why City the Animation feels like we were dropped into the middle of someone else's story, and how the adaptation choices made the world less cohesive. My first red flag actually came during episode 3, when Nagamo's being chased by Obaba, the old landlady. Right at the start of the episode, it's a funny moment, but something about it just didn't make sense to me at first. After watching part of episode 4, my curiosity really peaked. Things weren't adding up, so I decided to check out the City manga. That's when I saw that chapter 1 literally opens with Obaba knocking on Nagamo's apartment door to collect rent. Suddenly, things started making sense. The manga sets up exactly why Obaba's always after Nagamo. In the anime, without the opening scene, Obaba just comes off as this chaotic slapstick character who's out to get Nagamo for no real reason, instead of having an actual motive baked into the story. Another big omission is how Nagamo even ends up working at Makabe's Western Bistro. In the manga, there's an actual chain of events. Nagamo finds one of Tatewaku's mom's artifacts sitting outside, and decides she's gonna sell it at Total Shop Folk Art Real Works. After hearing how valuable it might be, she panics, brings it back, gets spooked by Tatewaku, drops it and breaks it. She feels guilty, and Tatewaku also needs someone to cover his shift so he can keep playing soccer. So he just declares that Nagamo is the new part-timer at Makabe's Western Bistro. That one sequence explains how she got her job, shows her impulsiveness and conscience. Without it, the anime skips a key how we got here moment and makes her feel like she spawned into the restaurant out of nowhere. Even when the anime adapts specific manga chapters, it sometimes tweaks the core joke or character dynamic. Take chapter 19, Let's Go Youthful Campus Life. Nagamo is chasing Nikura around because she wants to borrow money from her. Classic Nagamo, always scheming to get by. In the anime, they flip it. Now it's Nikura chasing Nagamo down, demanding she pay back 1,000 yen for a meal. It's a small change, but it totally shifts the roles. The original gag is about Nagamo's desperation and Nikura trying to avoid getting tapped for cash. The anime version turns it into a standard you owe me money chase, and you lose a bit of Nagamo's lovable leech energy. Here's where it really hurts. City's humor is wild and fast-paced, but it builds off earlier events, like jokes that were built on previous scenes and character traits. When the adaptation skips or shortens those setups, it undercuts its own punchlines. There's a great bit in the manga where Obaba slams Nagamo and puts her in a headlock. It's hilarious, but it's also the first time we really understand that Obaba is physically the strongest person in their whole setting. And the anime skips that and swaps in more disconnected gags. Without that build-up, Obaba's strength and presence feel more like random jokes instead of part of the world's internal logic. Then there's the officer storyline. In the anime, Obaba silently opens the staff-only door at the Makabe's Western Bistro, looks inside for a moment, and then just closes it again. In the manga, the exact door opening is the start of a whole sequence. Not seeing anyone inside, Obaba decides she has no choice but to carry a heavy dresser by herself. The new officer sees this, rushes in to help, throws out his bag, and that's where his gag of getting wrecked whenever he gets involved with her really begins. He still manages to bring the dresser to the location Obaba wants. And only then does she hand him a list of items to pick up from Nagamo's apartment. When people see him walking around with Nagamo's belongings, they all assume he's a thief, and some minor characters actually capture him and tie him up, convinced he's a criminal. When Obaba finally arrives and tells them to untie him, that's where everything really explodes. Quiz King is the first one to step up. He tries to get near her, and she floors him instantly with a single backhand chop. He then tries to be clever, decides to withdraw for now, and attempts to sneak her with a backhand fist from behind, only to end up on the ground claiming he was actually hit 16 times. After that, she outright dares everyone else to come at her, and they do, and she low dips the entire group in seconds. It's like watching a Street Fighter character in real life. She wipes them out with Akuma level menace while barely even trying. The officer even describes her face in the previous chapter as wearing an expression akin to King Demon Asura himself, which tells you everything about how overwhelming her presence is. It's one of the funniest chapters in the manga and one of the clearest flexes of Obaba's strength, and none of it shows up in the anime. Exactly the kind of thing that would have been perfect in motion. On top of what's missing, there are also anime original choices that just feel off. One example is Obaba fighting a bear at Tanabe Tower. There's no bear like that in the manga. Instead, it's Nagamo who fights a bear with the toilet seat of all things in chapter 111, My Summer Break. Swapping that kind of moment around doesn't really add anything. It just muddies who does what and why. Changes like this don't enhance the humor or connect arcs better. They just make the adaptation feel looser and less grounded in the manga's internal logic. What upsets me the most isn't just that scenes were cut, it's what they chose to cut. You never really get the full payoff to the whole duck lips running joke in the anime. Both versions show Nagumo and Nikura trying to pose because Nikura read in a magazine that guys would go crazy for it. And both show them running off in embarrassment. In the manga though, it actually comes back during the mayoral election arc. Aratara rallies Tsurubishi, the editorial-in-chief, Wako, Nagumo, and Nikura, declares that what their team has is sex appeal and hypes the 3 college girls up as campaign idols. Nikura charges into the crowd, salutes, and does the exact same duck lips pose again, instantly dies of first-hand embarrassment. Nikura ends up grabbing the editorial-in-chief by the neck and screaming that she made a fool of herself because she believed that feature article. Nagumo then rushes in to avenge her, only to embarrass herself as well. Since the anime never adapts this arc, you only get the initial gag without this later explosion, so the joke feels unfinished. The anime also skips the mayoral election arc entirely, though if you watch closely, you'll notice a campaign poster in the background where Ecchan is going through all the moments her and Matsuri had. It's a small nod to the bigger storyline that's missing, but still somewhat present visually. One of the changes there is the scene where Ryota and Matsuri's way of getting around is different. In the manga, Ryota rides his bike with Matsuri on the back, while in the anime it's swapped for 2 people pretending to be a horse. I didn't have a problem with that change at all. It actually made me giggle because it was so unexpected. And I even pulled up the manga chapter to make sure I wasn't remembering it wrong. It just threw me off for a second because I thought my memory was cooked. Along with that, the anime leaves out the moment where Ryota stops concerned civilians from interrupting Matsuri's final moment with Ecchan, which helps sell how big and emotional that send-off is in the manga. There's also the detail with Riko carrying a bag filled with pepper. In the manga, that has context. Her class is trying to get into the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest pre-sneeze windup and the biggest sneeze, so she keeps herself constantly on the verge of sneezing with pepper. In the anime, without that setup, the pepper bag just looks like a random, unexplained gag. Building on character involvement, Wako isn't just causing chaos for fun in either version of the city race arc. She's basically running battlefield strategy to secure Matsuri and Ecchan's victory. The manga just fleshes the plan out much more, showing how many moving parts she's actually controlling behind the scenes. She hunts down every hidden flyer for the event, decides who should enter, and redistributes the flyers to her chosen targets, turning the whole thing into a race where she's already predicted who will do what and planned around their reactions. On top of that, she quietly manipulates the other heavy hitters. She tells Obaba that Nagumo is entering the race, then tells Quiz King and Tateshina that Obaba is weaker than usual. This could be your chance, putting them straight at her so the field moves exactly the way she expects. Later, when Nagumo finally catches on and asks, "Wait a second, what about me?" Wako just nonchalantly replies, "Well, luckily, you were all taken care of the moment you teamed up with Nikura." Wako isn't boasting about blowing up the race so much as revealing how far her backup plans go. And backing her up is Riko, who's quietly the tech genius behind the whole thing. Wako mentions, "And if it came to it, I could kill all you birds with one stone using Riko's custom bombs that I buried along the home stretch." When the Makabe machine flies by, she says she went into a trance and started hitting the switch, and the next thing she knew, it had exploded. Riko then casually explains, "That's because I hacked the Makabe self-destruct code and blew it up myself." In the anime, Riko does all her hacking from home, which makes her feel removed from the chaos even though her skills are crucial to what's happening. In the manga, she's actually at the tail end of the race itself, buried in the pack with everyone else, so her tech work lands as part of the on-ground scramble instead of something safely happening off-screen. Between Wako's layered contingencies and Riko's engineering prowess, the entire race is under their control, which makes it even more of a letdown that the anime tones Wako down and leaves Riko out of the sequence. Sure, we get a touching moment of the sisters working together at the airport with Matsuri and Ecchan, but it's a shame we never really see them in high-stakes motion during the race itself. On top of that, the manga gives a really nice full circle moment with Tsurubishi and Wako. Tsurubishi spends time dreaming about walking into a place and confidently saying the usual, but it's Wako who actually pulls it off later. She strolls in, casually does the thing he always wanted to do, and he ends up emotionally wrecked by how easily she achieves his little fantasy. It's funny, it pays off an earlier setup, and the anime doesn't adapt it at all. Finally, the anime turns the ending of all of this into a musical that might have worked better if it hadn't skipped the scene where Tsurubishi, Aratara, and the editorial-in-chief try to capitalize on the award-winning photo Nagumo took. In the manga, that moment acts as a bit of satire about exploitation and image, and it feels like a proper payoff for Nagamo's effort. The anime jumps straight to a musical style finale instead, which feels disconnected when you know what was left. All of these changes together don't just remove jokes, they strip out payoffs, character, competence, and running gags that make the manga version of City feel like a living, breathing town. Look, not every single chapter or joke has to be adapted, but these are core storylines and payoffs. They're the glue that makes the cast feel like they live in the same city and that their actions matter. Removing them makes the anime feel more like a highlight reel than a complete story. So is City the animation bad? No, it has charm, energy, and some genuinely funny scenes. The core idea and the cast are strong, but the way it was adapted makes it feel like watching a series from the middle where big emotional and comedic beats happened off screen somewhere else. If you haven't read the manga, you miss a lot of context. If you have read it, you keep noticing all the things that could have made the anime so much richer. And honestly, that's what frustrates me the most. What are your thoughts on City the animation? Did you enjoy it? And have you read the manga? Which chapters or what arcs do you wish that would have got adapted? Let me know in the comment section. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and share with a friend. Until the next time.
じゃあな。